G'day everyone, welcome back to another live hangout here at Voice Essentials. I hope you are all well for the last couple of weeks, because we haven't hung out for the last couple of weeks. I spent last weekend, including the Monday, which we would normally hang out here live on the channel, going down to visit my son. About it was exactly 8 hours drive south. And it was good. It was good to hang out. So wherever you are currently, I hope you are safe and healthy and in good voice. Today we're doing a Q&A. And so I can see Mackenzie Kate has already got her first question in, which is not uncommon for Mackenzie to get the first question in. So we'll be answering Mackenzie's question and your questions. Very soon, actually. We're not going to spend too much time doing any pre-talk today. I do want to just let you know that next week we've got Cate Frazier-Neely coming into the show. Well, not coming into the show, but you know what I mean, like as a special guest. She'll be zooming in. And we're going to be talking this is going to be a fascinating topic. We're going to be approaching the voice through the lens of an osteopath. It's going to be fascinating. Can I tell you, this is a lens I've never looked at the voice through before. And I'll be honest and say I don't know a lot about an osteopath's work, but we've had Cate on before, but we've never approached our discussion from this point of view. So this is going to be really interesting. I'm really looking forward. I'm just going to turn that off, because I think we might have been getting were you getting a funny like, oh, I'll just turn that off. I just realized I had two mics on, so if it sounded like there was an echo, I apologize. I've fixed that now. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to spend next week talking to Cate. The week after that, well, you possibly think, if you don't live in Australia, you might think that Australia is the land of the long weekends. We have another public holiday here in Queensland in 2 weeks' time, which falls on the Monday. We meet here every Monday, Australian time, Australian Eastern Standard Time, at 1 p.m. There's a public holiday that day. It's the King's birthday, and because, as you may or may not know, Australia is a part of the British Commonwealth. For how much longer? One can only, think about that. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, currently we have been for a couple of 100 years. So we celebrate the King's birthday in 2 weeks' time. Before we get into today's Q&A, and the questions are already lining up. Oh, incidentally, there's a poll. We're running another poll today. Some interesting comments already being made about the poll. The poll question is what, and I'm looking, I know it's over there, but I'm looking over here because that's where I've got the question. What do you think is the most essential quality of a truly memorable singer? You've got 4 choices: technical mastery, emotional authenticity, unique vocal tone or style, ability to connect with audience. There's already been, and so go ahead, there's already been 12 votes. We like to get to 20 plus votes, and we always reveal that towards the end of the show. Where did everyone land? And I'll be right off the cuff and say, honestly, I think you need all 4. So let's just get that out of the way. You almost certainly need, in fact, not almost, you need all 4. But if you were pressed to choose just one, then, you've got to choose it today in the poll. We're just having a bit of fun as usual. This poll I'm also running on the YouTube channel, and for no other reason other than it's just a fun question to ask. It's already been pointed out by Dean, which I don't disagree with you, Dean, that isn't 2 and 4 kind of the same? And I think they're kissing cousins. They're very similar, but emotional authenticity does speak to the emotional intent of the singer and that sense of connection with the repertoire themselves. The ability to connect with the audience is almost a bit more about stagecraft. I think emotional authenticity empowers connection, and so that's true. And so, Dean, I don't disagree with you, but again, we're just maybe we are just splitting hairs here. But anyway, choose one, and we'll reveal all at the end. Again, I really do think if you're allowed to in the poll, you would choose. I personally would choose all four, because I think you need all four. Anyway, it's good to see you all jumping in. Now, one thing, I just want to give you an update around the reaction videos, because something that Linda and I will be implementing, and this won't come into effect for the reaction videos until January, because that's how far ahead I've already produced videos for reactions. But and this is something that I've been really thinking about for the last 2 or 3 months. Is one of the challenges that I have in running this channel, Dr. Dan's Voice Essentials, is that it's not that it's a side quest. It's very much a mainstay of what I do. But as you know, I also, time-wise, predominantly teach people to sing here in the studio and online in private lessons. Incidentally, if you're looking for a singing teacher, then I'd love to have you join me and have that one-on-one time and us work specifically on your voice. That being said, my time, consequently, and when you account for the fact that I'm teaching, I'm writing scripts for videos, I'm shooting videos, including the reaction videos, I'm then editing the videos, and I am then uploading them and responding to comments, and it's a lot. It is a lot. And so I am always looking for the most efficient and expedient way to do things, as you might expect. Otherwise, I just run out of time. And what had become quite apparent to me in the last few months is the challenge around the reaction videos has been my fact checking. And case in point, the one that went live last week, Monday last week, in place of our live hangout, I put up a reaction video, is a video of Jeff Castellucci. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He's a wonderful bass singer, and he employs some fabulous subharmonics, and he's wonderful, fabulous. And I remember when I shot the video, I'm thinking to myself, gee, these voices sound... There's four guys on camera. And I remember when I was watching the video, because what I do is I generally will listen to the song, the video through a few times, as in actually generally about 2 or 3, just so I can get a sense of what I'm going to be commenting on. And then I'll just dive in and do it. What I avoid is actually going and trolling other people's reactions to the same singer, because I want my thoughts to be my own, and to be very much from that angle of vocal pedagogy and learning to sing. And so I do try to avoid the sense in which I'm garnering from other people's comments and reactions, and so I do try to just approach it like that. But one of the weaknesses of that approach is I miss things in factual things. Case in point, this particular video, which I'll just let you know, I've actually made it private, so you can't view it. is there's 4 guys on screen, and I remember thinking to myself, gee, tonally they sound the same. But I ignored that thought. I thought, well, no, I'm looking at, and they've got different makeup, and they look different, in my humble opinion. There's prosthetics on, like they've got, because it's actually just Jeff. There's no 4 people. It's just Jeff, and they've shot it with him singing to what would be pre-recorded tracks. Him singing to I See Fire, the Ed Sheeran piece. And in fact, there was one point, and I actually edited my comment out of the video that I ended up uploading. I edited out a point where I said, gee, those 2 people, I wonder whether they've mixed up the visual edit there, because, you know, those 2 singers, it sounded like he was singing his part, but he was singing on. So, and I thought, no, I'm just confusing everyone. So I edited it out. Long story short, what do you think happened the moment the video goes live? You know, the comments were basically, this guy's an idiot. Doesn't he realize that it's actually only Jeff? And, you know, despite the fact that I had kind of twigged to it, I ignored it and didn't, you know, because there's no comments in the description of the video that it's just Jeff. Well, that's not true. When in the description of the original video, it does only highlight Jeff as a voice. And I remember seeing that and going, oh, I think that's a bit rich. It's a shame he hasn't mentioned the other 3 singers. Well, there's a reason for that, Daniel, because it was just Jeff singing. My point being is that actually everything I said in the video was, I think, worthwhile. But that gets completely lost when a single point of what is apparently to everyone else an obvious fact, the single point is made that, I'm just checking my things here. The single point is made that, hey, you know, Daniel, you're an idiot. Can't you tell it's just one person? And so it dilutes all the other information. Now, I'd already called, before this all happened, I'd called Linda, our wonderful Linda, a few days earlier saying, hey, I've been thinking about this. We need to do a bit, I need to do fact checking. I don't have time. So what I want to let you all know is that Linda, the wonderful Linda, has well, it would be a stretch to say she volunteered, in the sense that she is doing it voluntarily, but I asked Linda, hello, Linda's in the comments grabbing all of your questions. I've asked Linda to actually do fact checking for me in preparation, almost like a research assistant, not almost, as a research assistant in preparation for doing the reaction videos. I wanted to let you all know that that was what was happening, so that you can, I guess, as my closest comrades in the community, understand why perhaps historically you've seen me make mistakes, and I have. I've made these almost musicology mistakes, you know, these things about, you know, don't you know that there's 4 singers? There was one a few weeks back where I was reviewing So Young, a Korean singer, and it came up that, oh, didn't you know she had pneumonia that day when she was doing. These are the little things that I just don't have. I'll be honest and say I don't have time to trawl the internet to learn, which doesn't change anything about that particular reaction, which is why I didn't take the reaction down. It only, I think, highlights even further how wonderful that performance is. But that's the sort of stuff that would be really helpful for me to know prior to doing the reaction video, partly so that I can tell people, hey, did you know that So Young, this is, as we're watching this, it's really important to know she'd just been released from hospital with pneumonia, and it just makes the performance even more amazing. Point being, we're going to be fact checking from now on, and that's not to say that mistakes won't still be made. I'm human. I'll still miss things but hopefully on far less occasion than I have prior to this point. Again, this will only come into effect for videos basically from mid-January onwards, because that's how far ahead I already am with the reaction videos editing. Yeah. So what do you think of that? Let me know in the chat section, in the live chat, and please also let Linda know how thankful you are to her taking on that responsibility, because she has to take a bit of a deep dive into the comments section to find out some of this stuff, that is not, it's never listed in the description section of the videos. It's always often in the, with the super fans, and they know information. Like Linda said to me today in an email, they know far too much sometimes about certain things. But anyway, hopefully that's going to be good. Okay, we've got 13 votes incidentally already, and there's one coming out as a clear winner, and so stay tuned. We'll talk about that in a moment. We are going to go to a Q&A right after this. Here we go. Q&A. Mackenzie, you get the first question. And your question is, I know you've said in the past that you can't extend your range, but my range, well, have we cut off a bit of that question? Let me come down in here and read it directly. Range, but my range was checked a few weeks ago, and I went from low A3 to G3, and my high went from A5 to D flat 6. How did that happen? Okay, so Mackenzie, I think there's two ways to answer this for you, and one is the more generalized way, and that is, it is true, you can't extend your range, you can't stretch the physical aspect of your voice. What you can do, and I'm so pleased for you that this may be a part of the reasoning, is that as you develop your technique, you are more capable of using your full anatomical range. No one, and again I'm going to say this, no one come along and add an extra octave to your voice. A good singing teacher may well be able to walk alongside you is to help you develop the skills to be able to use your full anatomical range, which prior to having that technical foundation, you may not have been able to do. So that's the first answer. But for you, Mackenzie, I wonder whether, because I'm correct me if I'm remembering this incorrectly, but I think hypermobility is a challenge for you. And so one of the things around hypermobility, we talked about this a few weeks ago, is that there can be times for people who suffer from hypermobility where they are able to, through overextension, have their voice access a much wider range. As we talked about this, as you remember, with Joanne Bozeman, but for hypermobility, people who suffer from hypermobility, that's not necessarily a good thing to be, to say it like this, to taking advantage of, because that can lead to inflammation and real challenges in both the short term and long term for people who are suffering from that. So try to put both of those answers together, Mackenzie, for you personally, and just make sure that you are, approaching your range in a really sensible way. Remembering range is not the be all and end all of singing. At the height of my professional singing career, I was singing over about 3 to 3.5 octave range. That was what I was using. Actually, these days, because partly I'm no longer that drawn and driven by range, but it's also partly driven by age. I'm really content across 2 octaves, and there's very little that I have to forego singing. In fact, there's nothing I forego singing that can't really be sung using that. So these singers who we observe, and they're all wonderful, and some of them are absolute freaks of nature, that are singing across really extensive 7 octave ranges. It's cool, but it's not absolutely necessary. So, Mackenzie, I hope that's helpful. We're going to come to Mr. Fomiati's question, which is right here. Mr. Fomiati, is it possible to be losing pressure through my nose when singing? What a fascinating question. I don't think so. And I'll say the reason for that is because it's actually the larynx itself that forms intrathoracic pressure. So the larynx is actually a 3-way valve. So you've actually got the vocal folds, the above that, so you've got the true folds, the false folds, and the epiglottis. And when all 3 of those clamp down, as they do when you are defecating, giving birth, Mr. Fomiati, that won't be a problem for you, or lifting. I was at the gym this morning, and we're extending my weight process, and so I have to actually create intrathoracic pressure when we're doing that, and then I release to maintain the intrathoracic pressure, but whilst not putting too much intensity on my throat. Then that's where the pressure is developed, if you will, within the trachea down into the bronchi and into the lungs. So through your I don't think so. But what it's such a fascinating question, Mr. Fomiati, that I'm questioning myself as I'm answering it just off the cuff. But I'm pretty sure the answer I've just given is, when I think about it logically, is about right. We're up to 14 votes, everyone. 14 votes, and so make sure if you've just chimed in and you're watching the show and you haven't voted yet, throw in your vote there. That would be good. And now I'm coming down here. Mr. Fomiati's also said, had an idea about the fact checking, that I should put a disclaimer out at the start of each video. Look, I kind of try to, Mr. Fomiati, around the fact checking. It's just that the nature of the internet is such that if people just pile on, and unfortunately, you can say 99% correct and get 1% wrong. And what does everyone focus on? The 1%. And because I'm human, I do make mistakes. One thing I've never, been backward in declaring here at the channel. For those of you See, the thing is, for those of us who chime into the live show and watch the live, and we spend this hour together every week, you kind of get the cut of my jib. You know, I'm not, trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes and declare myself to be anything that I'm not. But when people are chiming in, particularly for the reaction videos, and they don't know me from Adam, that they're less given to doubting and questioning and for some of them being aggressive in their responses right up front, and definitely not giving me the benefit of the doubt. So yeah, I'm really, really hopeful that by doing the fact checking that we're going to unearth some of these such small points. How could I ever know that she had pneumonia before she got up to... I can't know that. But anyway, especially when it's not declared in the description of the original video. But hopefully we'll find those things now. Let's come up to this next question. Hi, Dan. I hope you are great. I'm a bit flagged today. It's my first day back in the studio teaching after having a week off, and I did actually have a week. Well, we recoded the deck, and we did a whole heap of housework. So I wasn't teaching, but I was working. Anyway, it takes a bit of to get the stamina up and running again. My question is, how can I sing G5 or A5 notes with a low volume or more controlled volume? I always blast those notes. Thank you in advance. I think one of the challenges, Erwin, is the great intuitive temptation is to push. In fact, I was working on this with a student earlier today. As you get higher, your body intuitively wants to drive the voice. It wants to push harder, get the notes up there. And Dean, thank you very much, mate, for the super chat. Really appreciate that. That's really helpful. You're saying I'm going to hit a like on that, Dean. Thank you. The review was good. You were puzzled by the identical qualities in the voices of the different people. Thus, your ear was accurate. Yeah, it was a confusing moment, Dean. Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate the support. So when we're going for those higher notes, Erwin, I just want you to be really work on doing the counterintuitive thing, and that is backing the air pressure off. There's a couple of helpful ways we can go about this. Actually, they all come under the umbrella of SOVT, semi-occluded vocal tract activities. So if you can workshop the particular line that you're working on for a song using lip bubbles, tongue trills, or NGs, where you are really intentionally backing the air pressure off as you get into those higher notes, then it gives you an opportunity to really play with it and practice it. And so I want you to just be attentive to that, and it takes practice, because your body naturally wants to push, and you have to teach it not to do that. It's an interesting thing. The human body, more often than not, doesn't do things the most efficient way. We have to teach it the efficient, balanced approach, and singing's no different to that at all. Projector, where are you? I've got there, because there's a good question here. Where is it? Here we go. This question, very simple one. And Projector is 13, a 13-year-old aspiring singer. It's good to have you with us. What is head voice? Projector, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Forgive me if I'm not. What I want to encourage you to do is go across to the channel. So just click below and go to the channel. And I want you to go to the videos tab and type in voice registers. Yeah, and there's a whole video that's going to go into in quite a bit of detail about what head voice is. It's a confusing label because there's no voice in your head. Yeah, and there's no voice in your chest, which is what often people refer to for the low notes. They'll call it a low voice or a chest voice. And so part of it is learning some terminology, and I think you'll find that video, vocal registers. In fact, I think the video is called Head. Linda might be able to find it for us and put it into the chat for you, projector. It's head, chest, head, and mix. Linda, help. Anyway, please go and watch that video. It goes into it in a lot of depth, but really, you'll really understand it in quite a bit of detail. I hope that's helpful to you. Mackenzie, you've come in here with another a good question. Let me just come in follow up to what we were talking about before. Where are you, Mackenzie? I'm looking. I need to find your comment. Why can't I find your comment? Sorry, everyone. I'm looking for Mackenzie. I've just seen. Oh, here it is. Mackenzie's just asked in relationship to her first question. Thank you. Should I be concerned if the hypermobility is affecting my range? I think you need to be mindful of it, Mackenzie, and recognize that it is going to be a factor within your vocal range ability, and that at times it could be a constricting factor. At times it could be a releasing factor. But as we talked about with Joanne Bozeman, you always want to approach a voice with hypermobility very much from a moderate point of view, everything in moderation. And so on one hand, and we talked about this in regards to pianists who have hypermobility, they can often stretch much wider across the keys, and so they can get beyond the octave, and in one sense that dexterity is quite cool, but if overused that can lead to muscular and joint problems. And so the same within the voice, we just have to be careful, and something to be thinking about. Up to 17 votes, everyone, on the poll. What are you thinking is going to come up as the leading answer? Okay, let me come down to Jenny. Actually, what we might do is we'll answer Jenny's question and then we'll go to the poll. So 18 votes. We're up to 18, which we always try to get to. Do you know what? I like to get to 21. Because I grew up, we had a little saying amongst my friends, 21's not a number, it's a legend. That makes no sense to anyone other than me. And so anyway, if we get another 3 votes and get to 21, because it's not a number, it's a legend, that would be cool. Okay, Jenny has asked a question here. Jenny has said, I joined a choir, which is cool. I think choirs... choirs are cool. I spent a lot of time in choirs as a kid. The teacher checked my singing, said I was alto. I finally feel I have a bit of confidence and hope to learn a lot from them, but I've never done this before and here's the next part of the question, hope I don't disappoint them. I'm pretty sure I didn't copy her lead to the letter. Does that improve with practice? I'm pretty sure I didn't copy. Oh, I'm trying to figure this out. But I've never done this before, and I hope I don't disappoint them. I'm pretty sure I didn't copy her lead to the letter. Oh, I see. As in, you were singing along in the alto section, and you were following the person who was leading the section. The great thing about, Jenny, the great thing about singing in a choir is firstly, it's a team sport, and you are going to have your stronger players than other players on the field. And so some voices are going to be more dominant within, and I'm thinking more here about a community choir or a school choir. In a professional choir, we wouldn't want this, but in a community choir, this will be the case where we have certain singers who are going to be able to hold their parts with more confidence and self-assurance than other singers, particularly people who are starting out, Jenny, like yourself. And so firstly, I don't think you'll have disappointed anyone. I really don't think so. And secondly, will you improve with practice? Absolutely, you will. And you will, as you gain your confidence, so will your ability to be more fluent in the flow of the harmonic structure of whatever piece you are working on. And it's because it's a skill. And the more time you spend doing this particular skill, choral singing, the better you'll become. And so I think you can take every confidence, Jenny, that this is going to be a really positive experience. And certainly, I've got a number of students. In fact, I had one earlier this morning. She's in, like, I can't keep up with how many choirs she is in. And she takes so much value away from the social interactions that she gains from the choirs, as well as the singing. We're still only got 18 votes, hoping to get to the 21. So I'm going to go one more question, then we're going to come to what am I going to come to? The poll thing. And then we're going to have to call it quits because I've got 3 more students to see this afternoon. This is JP Gaming. Hey, I've got a question. If you're a moderately low singer, how can you train yourself to sing high? Certainly the way I approach it is we look at the voice in segments, in registers. It's something we were talking before about. We look at it in the individual registers, and then we go looking to join them, and then I start with SOVTs. We then are looking to work the voice across the full range. Your voice, if you are naturally, biologically a low voice, then you're always going to be a low voice, but you certainly can facilitate the development of your higher notes so that they become easier to access, more assured, and more comfortable as you learn better balance and management of those notes. And in part of that comes through reason of use. I see this in female singers a lot. They'll often say, "Oh, I feel really, really weak when I go into my head voice," and I say, "Yeah, well, that's in part because the musculature that works and dominates that space is weak. So what we need to do, we need to start exercising that musculature to build strength, and with strength comes confidence, and with confidence comes fluency, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing." We only got to 18 votes today. It would be a stretch to say I'm disappointed. I'm not disappointed at all. I just like to get to the 21. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ending poll. And here is the results, people. What do you think is the most essential quality of a truly memorable singer? Or emotional. Honestly, these results are no surprise to me. Probably not a surprise to you either. Emotional authenticity, ability to connect with the audience, and it's like Dean said right way back in the beginning. Are they kind of, the opposite sides to the same coin? I think so. unique vocal tone or style. I must admit, I maybe that one is the one that's surprising me, that there weren't a few more people who might have chosen that one. And then, not surprisingly, is that technical mastery of their voice is the lowest. Again, I want to say, actually, without technical mastery of your voice, you really can't fully facilitate any of the others, personally, I think. And so you do remember this. Actually, you need all four, probably with a number of other options that I couldn't, that YouTube don't allow me to put in. You can only put 4 options into the poll questions. And so it is all 4, like we said at the very beginning. It is all 4, but yeah, I hope you're enjoying the poll questions that we're putting into the show. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed today's live hangout. Next week, we are going to, as I said, look at this voice thing through the lens of an osteopath. I think it will be fascinating. I really do. I'm going to learn a lot, and I know you will as well. So make sure you hit the thumbs up button today, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the white bell icon. And that way you'll get reminded when we hit the live thing. Thank you for allowing me to give you some insights earlier in the show into what's happening around fact-checking and the reaction videos. And it's all with a view to really wanting to provide quality information. Yeah, I don't want to be, giving you all stuff that you kind of have a niggling question around. I want you to trust what we're putting up, and telling you about the fact checking is about me trying to communicate to you my very, very strong desire to give you that quality information. So have a great week, everyone. This is my last teaching term for the year. We've got 10 weeks to go after this. So it'll be Christmas before we know it, for those of us who celebrate it. Where is the year gone? It's nearly gone. Wow. Okay, before now that I say that, I know Linda is going to start giving me the countdown to how many days till Christmas. Not yet, Linda. Let's wait until we get past Halloween, shall we? I look forward to seeing you all again soon. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.